In the name of Allah, the most beneficent and the most merciful. Assalamu alaikum. How are you, dear students? I hope you all are well and enjoying the studies at your home. I welcome you on behalf of Pakistan International School Taif's virtual learning class. This is biology class for first year and today's lecture number 18. Dear students, we have started previously chapter number 2, biological molecules, and our topic is classification of proteins and lipids. Today we will see some classes or distribution of properties in distribution of proteins in different classes, and we will start topic lipids. So let's get started. Okay, dear students, in the previous topic, we have talked about the structure of proteins, how they are formed, and then we have seen a significance of amino acids. We know that unit of protein is amino acids. Today we will see classification of proteins. You know, it's hard to describe or classify the proteins into different groups, into different classes, because there are lots of different types of proteins are there. But upon the structure and shape of protein, we can divide it into two classes: fibrous proteins and globular proteins. Fibrous, it comes from the word fiber, like long thread-like structures. So these proteins form a thread-like or filament-like shape or structure. So these fibrous proteins are actually having the secondary structure during their function. Dear students, let's go to the previous topic. Let's revise the structure or conformation of proteins. So you can see here, these are the this is the primary structure of protein, and proteins made up of lots of amino acid together, and this form a simple linear structure. But when this primary structure is going to perform its function, so it change its structure into secondary. This is not the functional protein primary, but secondary structure is the functional protein. Like, it performs on various functions. What are these? We'll talk about. So after some time, so you can see here, this linear structure can be coiled and twisted like this, and it forms the thread-like or filament-like structure. So in secondary structures, it can be found in helical structure, alpha helix, or beta pleated sheet. You can see here. And if we talk about globular protein, so globular protein mostly are represented in tertiary structure and quaternary structure. You can see this is polypeptide, beta polypeptide chain, and this is heme group inside that. So this, like here, the protein just coiled around to form the globe or round, spherical, or sometimes elliptical uh, structure, form of the structure. And you can see here the most common hemoglobin. This is also the globular structure. So these two types of proteins are having certain differences as well. Like fibrous proteins, they are insoluble in aqueous medium. It means that when first we can draw like this the structure of amino acid, then we can see here, here is carboxylic group. You can see O here, double bond O, and here OH. Okay, so if we see here H is present, if we just talk about here one side carboxylic group, C terminal is there, and here N terminal, it means nitro group is present here. So when we talk about this side, so here R group is attached. R group means any type of carbon chain is attached here, hydrocarbons attached here. Here, if we talk about CH3, so CH3 is non-polar. So if non-polar R groups are attached here, so they will not attract the water, and that's why they will be insoluble in the water in aqueous medium. That's why they are having like um, we can say very important structural role in our body, in the body of the animals. Okay, so they are insoluble in aqueous medium, but if we talk about globular proteins, they are soluble in aqueous medium, because here the R group is polar as well as that hydrophilic. And if we just talk about its structure in detail, so we can say when they form this globular structure, so inside the groups which are present here, the R group which are present here, they are hydrophobic. That's why they are present away from outer side. So they just collect. They are collected inside, and they like try to move away from the water and outside the hydro, the R group which are present here. They are like here, if like here, so water is present every time in the cell. So the water molecules just make bond, hydrogen bonding with that one, so they can be easily dissolved or soluble in the aqueous medium. So that's why they are having, because they are soluble in aqueous medium, so they are having the functional role or transport role in the body, means they move from one place to another. But these fibrous proteins, they form structural role in the body. Okay, so they are fibrous proteins are elastic in nature. If we just talk about the actin and myosin, they are present in the muscle, so they can contract and relax very easily. And as well as if we talk about globular proteins, so they are opposite of that, inelastic in the nature. Fibrous protein can be crystal because they cannot be dissolved in water. They are insoluble in water, so they are also not crystallized. So they can't be crystallized. Uh, Globular proteins can be crystallized. So if we just see their examples: collagen, fibrinogen, actin, myosin, keratin, we know that collagen proteins, they are present in the bones, in cartilage, and in like tendons. Fibrinogen, blood clotting protein, actin, myosin, is present in the muscles, and keratin in the nails and hair. So you can see they form the structural role, they play their like structural role in the body. So if we talk about globular protein, you can see enzymes are there, hormones are there, they can mold their shape, as well as because they are soluble in the water, they are antibodies. That's why they are transported from one place to another where the parasites attack in the body, so they move over there, and channel proteins also there. So if you just see its structure, you can see here is collagen fibers or fibrous protein. You can see the thread-like structure. One filament, it can be like and not strong enough, but lots of filaments, when they twist it together, so they form a strong rope-like structure. So they form strong structural role. And here you can see myoglobin, the protein, globular protein. Myo means muscle, in the muscle, so they carry oxygen in the body, in the muscles especially. So if we just list out their structural proteins, so we can say collagen is there, so it established the matrix in the bones and cartilages, we know, and but due to that bones are stronger enough. So elastin protein, they provide support for the connective tissue like tendons and ligaments, like tendons which join muscles with the bones and ligaments which join bone with the bone. So definitely they if they are elastic in nature, so then our bones can move easily. Keratin, it strengthens protective covering around the hair, nails, quills, feathers, horns, and beaks. So as much keratin is there, um, so then the strong the horns and beaks are, we know that how much stronger they are. So histone proteins, we know this is also the structural protein. It coiled DNA around it. So it arranges the DNA into the chromosomes. So if talk about functional proteins, so enzymes, we know that they are very, very important in the body for our metabolic processes, for example, respiration. So for biochemical reactions, they help to speed up the reaction many times. So they are also proteins. Hormones, they are protein in nature and they're involved in regulation of physiological activities. Actually, they do our homeostasis in our body, regulation of blood glucose level, calcium level, digestion, and blood absorption. For example, insulin is there. For example, uh, like other parathyroid glands secrete parathormone and calcitonin. These are some of the hormones which are released in the body and they regulate the body metabolic activities. Then we see the antibodies. They are also they are produced by WBCs. We know, but they are also the proteins, and they are in response of antigens or any foreign particle, foreign body, for example, any type of parasite which enters in the body, and they provide immunity against that. Hemoglobin, we know that is the transport protein. It carries oxygen and that is found on RBCs. And not only oxygen, but it carries somehow carbon dioxide also in the blood from one place to the other. Fibrinogen, that is blood clotting protein, and that is found in the plasma, blood plasma. Definitely it helps in the clotting of the blood. Ovalbumin or casein, ovalbumin is found in egg whites, and casein or casein, actually casein is there, so it is a milk based protein and that is present in the milk, and they are involved in, both of them are involved in the storage of amino acids, and then they give us a strong like protein as a structure in our body and energy. Yes, dear students, today's next topic, and actually the new one, that is lipids, that is the larger biomolecules, and they are okay. In the previous topics, we have studied that proteins are the polymers of amino acids, carbohydrates are the polymers of uh, carbohydrates are the polymers of what we have seen in polymers of glucose molecules, but here we will talk about lipids. They are actually not monomers because they are heterogeneous group of uh, organic compounds. So they are heterogeneous, means lots of different variety of organic compounds are present there, like molecules are present there. So they are actually just simply, if you want to understand, that they're fats and oils which repel water. We know that they are hydrophobic and they repel water. They are not water lovers and they are insoluble in water. For example, wax like candle wax also there. So they are what? Insoluble in water, and some steroids which are found in the body, they are also insoluble in water, but they are having a great role as like as long molecules of the lipids, but they are like dissolved or soluble in organic solvents, for example acetone, alcohol, ether, etc. So they are composed of mainly what? Carbon, hydrogen, as well as oxygen. But what is important here and what makes it like more energy giving molecule, because they are they give almost 9 kilocalories per um, a gram of lipids. They give 9 kilocalories energy per gram of lipids as compared to 4 kilocalories by carbohydrates. So this is for the reason that although they are hydrocarbons like organic compounds and they are having the hydrocarbon chains in that, but if we just compare the number of these like atoms here, so just we'll see oxygen is very less. So if we just to you talk the example of tristyrene, so you can see here 57 carbon atoms and almost like double of carbon is hydrogen, but very very less oxygen indeed. So that's why due to this less oxygen atoms and more hydrogen atoms, because hydrogen atoms when they break up, so they give the 7.3 kilocalories per mole energy, we know that. So sorry, when this hydrogen bonds break up, so what happened, lots of energy is released due to breaking of this hydrogen bond and different type of chemical reactions in the body. So that 7.3 kilocalories per mole energy is released in ATP, just now remember. Okay, so due to high content of carbon and hydrogen atoms, there is the double amount of energy than carbohydrates. So in general, lipids are the components because they are hydrophobic, so they form lots of different very very important functions. First of all, they are the components of cell membranes. So phospholipids and cholesterol, they are present in, we know, in plasma membrane, in if we just remember fluid mosaic model. So phospholipids, in which the lipid bilayers are there, and cholesterol is also present, which gives buoyancy, somehow elasticity, as well as waterproofing and protection to the cell, as well as there is the that is like that provides lot of energy, so it is the energy reservoir also. So that is triglycerides, which is present in our body, as well as they are chemical messengers and they are the steroids. Yes, students, if we talk about classification of lipids, then we can see that they are broadly classified into simple, complex, and derived uh, groups of lipids. So if we just talk about simple lipids, so they are esters of fatty acids. Esters, what is ester? Ester is actually, we'll talk about here in the next topic. Ester is the compound which is formed by the formation of the bond between we can say alcohol as well as acid, like uh, we just write here alcohol plus acid, and any type of acid and alcohol, they form the bond that is called ester bond. Okay, so for ester bond, so lipids are esters of fatty acids with various alcohols. So here fatty acids, like the acids of the fat, what are these, we'll talk about in a few minutes. So and our various alcohols. So for example, they form acyl glycerols, or that is also called triglycerides, and they are fats and oils and waxes. They are very, very simple lipids. If we just talk about compounds and complex lipids, so they contain some other groups in addition to alcohol and fatty acids. As simple as, so we can say that lipids are actually composed of fatty acids with alcohol. Okay, so this is a very, very simple definition. So like if we talk about compound or complex lipids, so phospholipids are there, in which phosphate group is there, glycolipids are there, in which carbohydrates are also attached, and lipoprotein with the lipids, proteins are also attached. They are called conjugated molecules as well. We'll talk about in the last of this chapter. If we just talk about derivatives of simple and complex, by combination of simple and complex lipids, they are formed terpenes, starches, steroids, prostaglandins, and cholesterols. So they are the example of derivatives of simple and complex lipids. So some examples we can see acylglycerol, waxes, phospholipids, terpenes, prostaglandins, steroids, we will discuss here. So first we'll talk about very main acylglycerol, and that is actually the most abundant lipids in the living things, and they are uh, the esters of glycerol and fatty acids. So let's talk about glycerol and fatty acids. But as I have told you that ester like is a compound which is formed by esterification or forming the bond between alcohol and acid. So that is called esterification, and like this compound is one that's called ester. So here, if we just talk about methanol. So dear students, you might have studied in the chemistry as well. When we just uh, like write OH with any compound, so that formed all, and that is alcohol. So that is methanol, because we are having one carbon and three hydrogen with that. So that is methanol. When it will make bond with ethanoic acid, means two carbons are there, and that is acid. It means it is having hydroxyl group, carboxylic group here. So you can see carboxylic group, and here at this side hydroxyl group. Both will make the bond. So hydrogen bond, hydrogen hydrogen bond from methanol or alcohol will make the bond between OH, a carbon of ethanoic acid. So what will happen? Hydrogen from methanol and OH from ethanoic acid will be removed as water. So you know this is called condensation reaction, in which two hydrocarbons or two organic compounds will make the bond, that is called condensation reaction, and if they are broken down, that is called hydrolysis. So here you can see a new bond is formed between these two compounds with O, oxygen, and water is removed. So that is methyl ethanoate, and that is ester. And that process is called esterification. And the bond which is formed between them, that is called ester bond. Okay, now we'll talk about the unit of lipids, that is glycerol, and then we are having fatty acids. So actually, glycerol is a trihydroxy alcohol in which three carbons are there and each bearing OH group. Let's talk about this one. This is glycerol. If you just see 1, 2, and 3 carbon is there, and it is having OH, 1 OH, 2 OH, and 3 OH, means 3 hydroxyl groups are attached with 3 carbons. And if you balance this bonds of carbon, so here will be 2 H2, here be H, and here be H2. Okay, so this is glycerol, or that is called trihydroxy alcohol. Because this is glycerol, this is alcohol, so it will make bond with fatty acid to form like an ester, or that is called triglyceride. Okay, so now I'll talk about fatty acids. Fatty acids, actually that is an organic acid, because the name is telling you acid. So that is having one carboxylic acid group attached to hydrocarbon. Now you can see this one. Okay, this can be C double bond, sorry, C double OH, and this side R group, or you can change here or here, the left or right side. So C double bond, C double OH, and at one side a long chain of like carbons, long chain of carbon. So this is a functional group. Carboxylic group is there. Here the long chain of carbon, it can be from like in one fatty acids, the least number of carbon atoms can be 2, and it can be vary up to 16, 18, or almost most of them found between 16 to 18 carbons. Like this is 1, and then if there is one more, so that will be 2 carbon atoms. But mostly here is the long chain of the carbon atoms. And with that we are having, if we talk about this R, so it will be like this, simply like this, simply hydrocarbon chains like this, like this. It means all this way we are having attached one what is that? Hydrogen. H, and all around H is there, and here this functional group carboxylic group is attached. Okay, so this is one fatty acid. When with every hydroxyl group of glycerol, like here 3 hydroxyl groups of hydroxyl groups are present in glycerol. So with these 3 hydroxyl groups, 3 fatty acids will be attached. You can see this one, then this one, and then this one. This is 1, 2, and 3. When these 3 are attached with this glycerol, so it is called and then they form this bond. Okay, so let's talk about just very simple first one. This is glycerol. Okay, so if with this hydroxyl we are having this like fatty acid attached, so one water molecule will be released here, and this compound will be formed, that is called monoglycerol, okay, or monoglyceride. So if two glycerol, like two fatty acids, this one and this one are attached with these two hydroxyl groups, so two water molecules will be released. So that is called diacylglycerol, or we can say diglyceride. And if the three fatty acids like this, here it is attached, this is called triacylglycerol or triglyceride, and three water molecules will be released. Actually, this triacylglycerol, that is neutral lipid, and that is present in our body for various purposes. Properties and types of fatty acids, if we talk about 30 different types of fatty acids are founded there, and they can vary in length, because with that, as we have seen here, C double bond, C double OH, and here R group is present, so this R can vary in the length, so fatty acids can vary in length. So the smallest one, that is acetic acid, which is having just here C and here also C, so two carbon atoms are there. If we talk about butyric acid, so butane or butyric acid means a four carbon is there. These are the simplest one. But palmitic acid, it is having 16, and stearic acid is having 18 carbon. So they are long, long fatty acids. So when we increase their number of carbon atoms, so increase in the melting point, because there is energy required to break their bond, as well as solubility will also be increased, and we know that they are hydrophobic in nature. So let's talk about two different types of fatty acids. Some are saturated and some are unsaturated. So the saturated fatty acids are actually solids at room temperature. If just you remember, what are the compounds which are solid at fats which are solid at room temperature, like we are having butter, we are having a solid ghee, and uh, they are solid at room temperature, so they are having high melting point. And some for example, animal fats are also uh, solids at room temperature. Its example is palmitic acid. And okay, what is the difference actually between saturated and unsaturated fatty acids? So you can see in saturated fatty acids, all bonds between carbon and carbon, they are single bond. All bonds are single bond. But if we talk about unsaturated fatty acids, so there are what? Double bonds between carbon atoms. So as many long chain is there, if one double bond is present in that, we can say that this is unsaturated fatty acid. And it can be from 1 to maximum 4 or 5, or just maximum I think so 6 double bond can be found in long chain of this hydrocarbons, which is present in R in the fatty acids. Okay, so that example is oleic acid, and they are opposite of that. In comparison of saturated hydrocarbons, they are liquid in nature and at room temperatures. That's why they are having low melting point, like all types of cooking oils which we use at home, olive oil, etc. And these are triglycerides containing hydrocarbon chains melt at low temperature, definitely, because they are having low melting point. So that is useful for living things. For technical, for medical point of view, unsaturated hydrocarbons are very, very helpful in for the heart patients as well as for the normal human being, because that give rise to and they do not clot in the blood, they do not form in the, that's why they reduce hypertension, they reduce heart attacks, and clogging of the arteries as well. So some common types of fatty acids we will discuss here quickly. um, lauric acid, that is present in like saturated fatty acids is lauric acid, and they are present in coconut oil. It is having the carbon number, all in all carbon 12 are there. You can see its formula, as well as its melting point is 44. Okay, they are actually saturated hydrocarbons. So you can see here, you can see here when the carbon atoms are increased here, so melting point is increased. Myristic acid, it is present in butter. Palmitic acid, it is present in most of the fats like animal fat as well, and stearic acid also is present in the fat. And just two numbers are there. Actually, they are carbon numbers are having even order, not odd. Like if there are 2, then 4, then 6, like this 12, then 14, like that. Unsaturated hydrocarbons is the carbon atoms. Number of carbon atoms is 18, 18, 18, and 20. You can see, but here is the difference between hydrogen bond, double bonds. Here you can see the position of the double bond, and here, although they are having 18, 18, 18, but here single double bond is present, two double bonds are present, three double bonds are present, and you can see here here 1, 2, 3, and 4 double bonds are present, and they are having melting point minus 15. It means so means the temperature, it needs very low temperature for the melting. And you can see it is present in the lard, which is present in the chicken, soybeans, in canola oils. We are having linolenic acid, and linoleic acid is present in vegetables oil. These unsaturated fatty acids, they are helpful for our body, especially for the heart patients, as well hypertension, which are having high blood pressure, etc. Okay, dear students, that's it for today. Inshallah, we will continue this topic of lipids in the next lecture. See you then, inshallah. Wish you all the best. Allah Hafiz.